Illium is such a refreshing addition to any boss mule lineup. This class just does what it wants, and what it wants to do is just fly up high and attack bosses from where they can't reach. Like, you're ignoring half of the mechanics in the game, and even then, classes just aren't meant to move this way. This class just gaps Damien. Like, if the worst part of your week is doing Damien 10 times on boss mules, mate, I've got the class for you. The playstyle revolves around interacting with his crystal. It's basically Oriana. If you don't understand that reference, well, you've probably been a lot more productive than I have. The concept behind the class is actually pretty simple, but it's unique. So instead of attacking enemies straight on, like you do with every other class in the game, you're attacking your crystal, which has cool interactions like more damage. It's a bit of micromanagement, but it actually has some pretty neat tricks once you get the hang of it. Your main attacks are going to be Javelin and Orb. Essentially just point the crystal to where you want to hit, mash those two skills at the crystal, and that's your main DPS. You start seeing explosions and shockwaves come out the crystal. Those are your reaction skills, which are just passives that trigger with a 4-second cooldown, and that's just free damage around the crystal. Now, you can't put Orb and Javelin in a macro, or you can, but I wouldn't recommend it. The attacks are just a lot slower for some reason, and it just charges the crystal slower as well, so you're just doing less damage overall. While you're attacking, you might notice a couple marks. Those are just self buffs and enemy debuffs that just essentially add to your damage. You can also summon more crystals. Among Us? But yeah, you can summon a crystal spirit that will interact and bounce off Javelin, and if you stack balls you can create some pretty cool attacking angles. You've got a mini nuke that does alright damage in the direction of your crystal, an iframe every 2 minutes, a party-wide invincibility. Yes, that's an up to 10-second invincibility for the entire party. You can summon friends to come out and play with you. Wish I could do that. Portals that will attack enemies around it and will grant you a huge amount of magic attack. And yes, they're portals, you can go through them. And a giant damage laser. Now let's talk about that gauge. The fun part happens once you transform. Like, you get this yellow aura around you, you shoot projectiles, energy waves, instant transmission? When you transform, you become this Super Saiyan that just breaks the game. You can fly wherever you want. Your main attack Javelin becomes this homing missile that just curves and bends and finds its way to hit the boss. You do so much damage, it's insane. Like, Illium's play this class for the 20 seconds of fun. That sounds a lot like me in bed. Now unfortunately, Illium does want that attack speed plus 1 inner ability. Your skills only get you to 7. So decent speed infusion, green pot, and attack speed plus 1 gets you to max 10. It's not necessary, but if you can get it, your gauge charges a lot faster, you just do more damage. The trinodes on this class are pretty easy. You're using the same skill from first job all the way through 6. They just get upgraded as you go, so less of a pool to choose from, and most of the things that you get, you want to be boosting anyway. The class wants 2 sets of trios. If it's a boss mule, you can get away with the first set, with some mix of Javelin, Machina, and Destruction. And on your second pair, you want Day X, Umbral Brand, and this one's only recently just changed. You want Vortex Wings. This one used to be Spear, but I think Vortex Wings gets boosted in 6th job. The bossing up to Damien is fantastic. Like, the bosses back then weren't made with vertical mobility in mind. You just go into a boss, fly up high, and they can't touch you. I mean, a lot of classes nowadays have an up jump and you can dodge a mechanic that way, but you're missing out on DPS if you're doing that. Not with Illium. You're there, you're attacking up high, and they just can't touch you. I mean, you can't ignore every mechanic. Some boss fights have high restrictions. I'm pretty sure that's the only thing stopping Illium from being invincible. Thank you, Nexon. But yeah, at some bosses you do have to play fair. But even then, is it really fair? The way you can move across the screen, it just puts you in such advantageous positions, and the range from which you can attack from is immense. I think the best thing about this class is just all the tools you've got available. Like, they're there. It's just for you to figure out, how can I cheese this boss? Take the Damien fight, for example. When he flies up in the air, classes are stationary on the ground, or they might jump up and try to land some attacks. Yeah, not Illium. Your damage uptime is always there. if you position your balls correctly. I don't know, maybe it's just that I hate Damien. Like, this boss takes up so much of my time across all of my characters, and I do it every week. Honest review though, there are some downsides to the class. Attacking the orb's not for everyone. It can be a bit clunky if you're not used to it. Your main attack's javelin and orb. When you're spamming that, there is sometimes an input delay, and I've been done so many times by it because the character just takes a millisecond longer to react. And Monster Park, oh my god, I hate repositioning the orb for Monster Park. The teleport range on this class feels kind of small. I don't have too much to compare that to because the only other mage I play is Lomien, and that class has a monster TP. I don't know, but maybe it's an unfair comparison, and maybe Illium's just average, and I'm being unfair. But I guess just having a teleport in itself is already a win. There's no more Lotus lasers, but just being able to instantly reposition yourself can't be bad. I think most people already have this class at least 120 for the Ling skill, but we'll put off because of the playstyle. Hopefully this video makes you reconsider. Extra points if you're a Flora race enthusiast and are already playing Ark, Adele or Kali. Yeah, give it a go. But yeah, I really am passionate about this class. It was the second character I ever made when I went over to Heroic. While I don't play it as much anymore, it's still got a special place in the fields and is always a joy to log into. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps with your next Hyperburn pick.